Hello everyone. Today we're talking about different topics and strategies on how to not fail your proposal/dissertation defense. Are you sitting around wondering or stressed out about what you need to do to be successful on game day? Well, you're watching the right video. Today we're going to give you all the tips and strategies you need in order to be successful. But before we get started, I want to make sure to remind you to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. For those of you that do not know who I am Dr. Rolanda Anderson from the School of Academic Research, and every single week I'm here conducting fresh content on academic topics to help you be successful. As a doctoral chair, I have helped many students through the proposal and dissertation defenses. I also work as a doctoral coach, and I help students in that aspect as well. So one of the commonalities that I find with all of my students is that they are all very excited, and the first thing they say is, when am I going to defend? I want to defend. How much longer do I have? Can we plan out the dates? And so we plan it out and say, okay, hey, we're gonna defend this day. Okay, so everything is worked out, and then the next thing that happens is the stress level of the student is here. They don't know where to go. They're stressed out. They don't know what to do. And the first thing I say is, calm down, relax. Take a moment to breathe, because at this point, everybody on your committee is aware of your study. We have all looked at the document and agreed that at this point, at this stage in your document, we all believe that you are ready to move forward. However, there are those instances where you get a committee member that's a committee member and they want to be the chair. Those situations can be difficult. I must say, if you get into those type of situations, please let your chair handle it, because you want to make sure that someone of higher level is speaking for you, because as the student, at no point in time do you ever want to say anything to anybody on your committee that may be viewed as disrespectful. Your tone may not be what they think it should be. So it is very important that you choose your words wisely and keep your tone in a manner as it should be to show respect. Because at the end of the day, the people that are on your committee, they already have their degree in hand. So you don't want to do anything to make them upset with you or feel as though, well, you're not worthy of this degree. And I hate to say that, but you do have people on the committees that may feel that way. So to avoid that, it's good to have someone else to speak for you if the chair is standing up for you and is speaking to represent you as the student that is ready to move on to the next phase. Because the last thing you want to happen is for your tone or the words of choice does not come out right, and then the process is held up. And so keep in mind that these people that are on your committee are fighting for you. So if you are disrespectful to them, they can very well take their time in moving on to the next phase. And I'm sure most of you want to move through the process. So it's important to just follow their instructions, especially if it is within reason, so you can move forward. All defenses are held in one or two ways. It'll be held either in an online setting where it will be conducted over Skype or GoToMeeting or Zoom or any other type of internet software program, or it will be held in a physical location. Online defenses are normally conducted by students who are attending online institutions, and the traditional face-to-face normally defenses normally occurs when you are attending a physical institution. So with that being said, one of the differences between the two that I have noticed is that institutions that are online and they have their proposal or dissertation defense, those defenses are held in a private setting. So they do not invite other constituents or peers to participate or to watch the defense. Now, at a face-to-face or traditional institutions, in those cases, the student is able to invite the public. So they can create flyers and put the flyers up on bulletin boards around the campus as well as in the community. So they can invite as many people or as little as they like. However, most students that I've come in contact really don't want anybody to come to their defense. In many cases, I have seen that they ask their entourage to sit outside the door of the defense to kind of help them to stay a little bit more calm or settled while they are defending. So that's the sheer difference between the two. However, one of the commonalities between the two, whether it's online or in a face-to-face, is that the student will create PowerPoint slides. So if you were doing it online, of course, you would share your screen, and then everybody on the committee could see your PowerPoint slides as you move through. And if you were conducting your defense in a face-to-face manner, of course, you would hand out your slides to your committee members first, because you definitely don't want to pass it out to the public first and then run out of copies. So if you do invite the public and you have quite a bit of people there, you definitely want to make sure that all of your committee members have their copies first. I have learned that some institutions, even though they're face-to-face and they have a PowerPoint slide, they may have a small round table meeting where the student is actually sitting and going over their PowerPoint slides, opposed to standing up and having the screen projector and going over all the slides. That way it's more of a conversation. And I think that kind of makes the setting a little bit more relaxed for some individuals. Another common question that I have from my doctoral students is, what do I put on my slide? Everybody wants to know what goes on the slide. And I try to tell them the only thing that goes on that slide is the information that you've been talking about. So you would pick the key themes that are in your defense, and that will be your slides. You don't want to overwhelm your committee with a slide with a bunch of words on it. You may want to bullet it out. You shouldn't have to have slides with a whole bunch of words on it at that point. But if that works for you, definitely do it. But you definitely want to be confident doing the defense. So you don't want to be reading off of the slides. But the information that you would put on the slides, as I said, would just be the headings from your research document. So some of the headings that you may put on there would be your introduction, your problem statement, your purpose statement, your questions. And if you have more than one question, what I've seen some students do, they do a slide for each question. If they have some different key points that they want to discuss for each question. Students also will provide a slide for their variables if they're conducting a quantitative study, or they do a phenomena slide if they're going to be conducting a qualitative study. So you also want to talk about your different strengths or weaknesses from the study, your results, your sample size, population. So there's lots of different slides. Some of those slides you may not need if you are working on your proposal defense. Like you wouldn't have a slide that would talk about your results because you haven't gotten there yet. So you definitely wouldn't have that slide. And you will all, regardless of which, if you're doing the proposal defense or your dissertation defense, you will always open the floor up for questions. So you definitely want to do that. Questions normally last about 5 to 10 minutes. So just be ready for when creating your PowerPoint slides and you have everything bulleted out. The next step you should make is to write out a speech. The last thing you want to do is show up game day and you're reading off a piece of paper. You want to feel confident, when you're defending. You also want to sound confident, and the only way to do that is to prepare. The sure way of failing a dissertation or proposal defense is to walk in and you're unprepared. So you definitely want to make sure that you write a speech down, what you want to say, focus on how you want to transition from one slide to the next, and just go over it several times. You want to be able to just talk about what's on the slides without actually reading it, because you want it to sound like it's a conversation. So they can gain an understanding that, hey, you really do know your topic. So make sure that you go over it. I mean, if it's a good rule of thumb for me anyway. I always like to go over my speeches at least 6 times. If I go over it 6 times, by that time, every time I say the speech, I'm a little bit more comfortable. Not only am I more comfortable, but I think about different information that I can include into my understanding your expectations is the very next thing that you should be concerned about. You need to ask your professor, what is the time frame? And I wish that I could give you a time frame of how long the average proposal defense is, but every school is different. The institution that I work at, they require students to defend for a maximum of 25 minutes. I think the minimum is around 15 minutes. So you want to make sure that you do not exceed the time frame, okay? You don't want to go on for 45 minutes. They will probably stop you before you get to that point, especially if the max was 25 minutes. So make sure that you ask for the time frame, because I've also chaired in situations where the defense had a max time of 8 minutes. So just make sure that you understand what the time frame is, so you only include the slides that you need. I know that I stated a lot of different slides, but however, you may not need all of those slides depending upon your defense. So when you create your speech of what you want to say, make sure that you time yourself, because that way that'll kind of give you an idea if you need to add more information or take information away. So please make sure that you have a understanding of the time frame that you have to speak. The next thing you want to do is ask your professor about questions. A lot of times, or I'm not going to say a lot of times, but I know that there are cases where your professor will let you know the questions that he or she may ask you. So definitely ask your professor, what are my expectations for questions? Do you have an idea of maybe some of the questions that I may be asked? So ask those questions. I have been in situations where I have chaired a committee and I've had new committee members on my team, or let's say committee members that have never attended a defense other than their own defense, so they're not sure of what they should be asking. So in those cases, I have actually given the committee member questions that they can ask the student during the defense. Now they have the option to use them or not use them, and they can tweak the questions as they like. But they also come into situations sometimes with a little tension on them. So please keep that in mind, that sometimes the people on your committee are just as tense and as stressed as you are. However, you as the student have to make sure that you are exuding confidence doing your proposal defense. Now, another common action that happens whether you are conducting your defense online or in a face-to-face setting is that you will be asked to leave the defense setting at a certain point. So once you've been asked all the questions and you've answered all the questions, they will ask you to leave. If you are conducting your study in an online setting, there will be a button at the bottom that'll say leave meeting. And so you'll just simply click the leave meeting, and then you'll wait on your professor to send you an email. And that email will just simply say, we're ready for you to log back in. You'll log back in, and then at that point, that's when your committee members will say, hey, you are approved. Hopefully that's what you want them to say. However, they may say you are approved with recommendations. So that's fine too. The end goal is just to get approved, correct? So you definitely don't want to hear you have failed your defense. So just make sure that you walk in that room on game day ready to defend with confidence. Now, if you are conducting your study in a face-to-face setting, now you will be asked to, at the end of your defense, you will be asked to leave the room. So you just simply leave the room. And then at that time, your committee members will deliberate about your progress, your success, where they think the study is, and if they think that you're ready to move forward. So at that point, they will deliberate about that. And please don't get nervous about it, because keep in mind that these people have already said that they believe in your study, because you wouldn't have made it this far. So anyway, while you're sitting out there stressing out, they're probably in that room deliberating and having a conversation that may not have anything to do with your topic. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Most people don't realize that. They've already made up their mind in many cases of whether or not they want you to move forward, okay? So these people are rooting for you, so keep that in mind. So when they're done deliberating, they'll call you back in, and then they'll let you know, once again, whether you approved, or if you approved with recommendations, or if you failed. Hopefully, like I said, just walk in the room with confidence, do your defense, and you should be good. The last thing I want to talk about is game day. On game day, you should be prepared. You should make sure you have your PowerPoint slides. Be prepared for the worst thing that could happen. If your professor says, hey, we're going to use a projector, make sure you have it on a jump drive, as well as email that PowerPoint to yourself. Have it in more than one spot, so just in case something happens, you get nervous and you can't find your jump drive, as long as you've emailed it to yourself, you still have it, you're good to go. If the lights go out or a tragedy happened and electricity goes out and you can't do the PowerPoint slide, that's fine too. Don't stress out about that, because why? You have made printouts of your handout. So you were prepared. So just pass out your handouts and go on as if nothing happened. Of course, you won't be able to do that in an online defense. However, if the electricity goes out in an online defense, then you won't be able to conduct the defense, because one thing about online defenses is not, and the same holds true with a face-to-face defense. They do want all committee members to be there. However, I'm sure there are instances where a committee member couldn't make it, or something happened on the way and the show had to go on. But in many cases, if the defense is online and the electricity goes out, then you just have to reschedule. So at the end of the day, for you to make sure that you are successful and that you pass your proposal or dissertation defense, make sure that you create your slides. Make sure that you ask your professor what is needed for you to be successful. Prepare your speech, say your speech a number of times so you're able to talk about it and not seem as though you're reading off of your slides. Prepare for your transitions. Also, ask yourself questions that you think somebody may ask you. Go over the questions that your professor has given you to say, hey, these are some of the questions that may come up. Make sure that you're well dressed. Make sure that your hygiene is where it should be, because those are also factors that will help you to be more confident doing the defense. So if you can do all of those things, I am sure that you will pass your dissertation defense, and you can walk in that room and you will not have any stress. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot today. And if you have any other suggestions or comments, please make sure to put the comments below, and then I will definitely try to create a video. I hope you learned a lot today, and you can use this video to help you enter your proposal or dissertation defense with less stress and confidence. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share the video. Don't forget, I create videos on a weekly basis, so I hope to see you here next week. Bye-bye.